Exar Kun is one of the most formidable and tragic figures in Star Wars history, a fallen Jedi whose ambition and thirst for power led him to embrace the dark side and nearly plunged the galaxy into chaos. Born with extraordinary force sensitivity, Kun was a promising Jedi Knight during the era of the Old Republic, long before the rise of the Galactic Empire. Brilliant, inquisitive, and supremely confident, he grew disillusioned with the Jedi Order's restrictions and sought deeper truths about the Force the Jedi refused to explore. His obsession with forbidden knowledge eventually led him to the ancient Sith world of Korriban, where he uncovered relics and holocrons that opened the door to the dark side. It was there that he encountered the lingering spirit of Freedom Nad, a former Sith Lord who became Kun's guide into darkness, abandoning the Jedi Code entirely. Kun declared himself a Dark Lord of the Sith, reviving the Sith Order alongside his ally, Ulic Qel-Droma. Together, they waged a devastating war against the Republic and the Jedi, using Sith alchemy and dark rituals to unleash horrors the galaxy had not seen in millennia. Exar Kun's mastery of the Force was unmatched in his time. He could manipulate spirits, construct deadly double-bladed lightsabers, and dominate minds. Despite his power, his empire crumbled under the united resistance of the Jedi and the Republic. Refusing to face defeat, Kun performed a final dark ritual, binding his spirit to the ruins of the Massassi temples of Yavin 4, where it remains for thousands of years. Though his body perished, his malevolent influence endured, corrupting those who came after. Darth Revan was a warrior, a philosopher, a savior, and a destroyer. Originally a gifted Jedi Knight during the Mandalorian Wars, Revan rose as a symbol of hope when the Jedi Council refused to intervene in the brutal conflict. With tactical brilliance and fierce determination, he led a splinter group of Jedi into battle, ultimately defeating the Mandalorians and becoming a celebrated hero. But victory came at a cost. In the Outer Rim, beyond known space, Revan encountered ancient Sith teachings and was seduced by the dark side. Reborn as a Sith Lord alongside his apprentice, Darth Malgus, Revan turned against the Republic he once defended, seeking to unite the galaxy under Sith rule. His campaign was devastating, yet beneath the cruelty lay a strategic mind focused on preparing the galaxy for an even greater unseen threat. Revan's reign as a Sith was cut short when he was betrayed by Malgus and captured by the Jedi. Rather than execute him, the Council erased his memory and retained him as a Jedi. Revan became a hero once more, destroying Malgus in the Starforge and saving the Republic from collapse. Yet his redemption was incomplete. Haunted by fragmented memories and an unshakable sense of purpose, he ventured alone into the unknown regions in search of the ancient Sith Empire that had first corrupted him. What he found there remains cloaked in mystery, but his legacy persists. From the ashes of the Jedi Civil War rose a presence so consumed by hunger that it defied reason, form, and even mortality. Darth Nihilus, the Lord of Hunger, is not remembered as a man, but as a wound in the Force, an echo of agony born from the cataclysm of Malachor 5. Where others fell, Nihilus was unmade and reborn, no longer human, but a spirit driven by insatiable thirst for life itself. Cloaked in darkness and concealed beneath a mask, he became a being who devoured entire worlds not out of malice, but necessity. For Nihilus, the Force became sustenance, and all who wielded it were prey. He spoke no known language, with his voice having the ability to shatter will and bend even the strongest to his purpose. Nihilus formed a regime that sought to bring about the death of the Jedi in the very fabric of the Force. Many planets were left barren in his wake, drained of all life in a single devastating act of consumption. Yet for all of his terror, Darth Nihilus was a paradox, boundless in power but enslaved by his hunger. The more he fed, the less of himself remained. Eventually, he fell in battle, with his essence unraveling when confronted by those who understood the nature of his torment. Darth Sion, also known as the Lord of Pain, was once a mortal man, broken by the wars that shattered the galaxy. But through the dark side, he discovered a terrible gift, the ability to survive any wound, no matter how fatal, by anchoring his spirit in agony. His body became a ruin, scarred, fractured, and rotting, yet bound together through the Force, and a mind too consumed by rage to surrender. Sion was a master of suffering, not only his own, but that of others. He did not seek galactic domination in the traditional sense. His goal was annihilation of the Jedi and the glorification of the Sith through endurance and fear. Alongside Darth Nihilus and Darth Treya, he formed the Sith Triumvirate, each a reflection of the dark side's extremes. Where Nihilus was hunger and Treya deception, Sion was pain given form. His presence alone could weaken Jedi, draining their strength and resolve through the oppressive weight of his tortured existence. Though fueled by hatred, Sion was not without conflict. His loyalty to Traya was tangled with resentment, and deep within his broken soul flickered the remnants of a man who once sought meaning. It was this inner fracture that led to his end. Confronted by a former Jedi who saw the hollowness of his immortality, Sion was made to see that his existence was a prison. In choosing to finally let go of pain, he embraced death at last. Darth Malgus was a warrior that sought to redefine the very empire he fought for. Born under the name Varadun and raised in the harsh traditions of the Sith Empire, Malgus rose through brutality and brilliance, becoming a symbol of ambition and combat skills. His first act of true transformation came during the sacking of Coruscant, where he led the assault on the Jedi Temple, striking a devastating blow to the Republic and leaving its capital in ruin. That moment was more than a military victory, it was a statement. To Malgus, peace was a lie, and only through conflict could strength and truth be revealed. Unlike many Sith who scheme from the shadows, Malgus wore his defiance openly. He challenged the Sith Council's beliefs and despised their obsession with tradition and internal politics. He believed the Sith should evolve, led not by lineage or secrecy, but by strength, clarity of purpose, and a commitment to conquest. His ideology was not driven by madness or cruelty, but by vision. He fought not only enemies of the Sith, but eventually turned against the Empire itself, declaring a new order where weakness and corruption would no longer thrive. Though ultimately defeated, Darth Malgus' legacy endures as an individual that refused to be a pawn in anyone's game. Darth Bane, the architect of the Rule of Two and the destroyer of the old Sith Order, was born on the desolate mining world of Apatros, where he endured a brutal upbringing defined by hardship and violence. His rage, sharpened by years of suffering, became the spark that led him to the dark side. Trained in the Sith academics of the Brotherhood of Darkness, Bane quickly outpaced his peers, driven not just by ambition, but by an unshakable conviction that the Sith had lost their way. Bane viewed the Brotherhood as a mockery of true Sith philosophy, diluted by numbers, weakened by infighting, and blinded by the illusion of unity. In studying the ancient texts of the dark side, he stumbled upon a forgotten truth that the Sith must exist in pairs, one master to embody power, and one apprentice to crave it. With this belief, he turned against the very order that trained him. Manipulating events from the shadows, Bane orchestrated the destruction of the Brotherhood during the climatic Battle of Ruusan by unleashing a superweapon known as the Thought Bomb, annihilating both Sith and Jedi alike. From the ashes, Bane emerged as the sole surviving Sith, initiating a lineage of secrecy and patience. The Rule of Two became his legacy, ensuring the Sith would no longer fall to internal weakness. Every apprentice was destined to one day challenge and surpass their master, making the Sith ever stronger and even more cunning. Darth Bane's impact was not measured by empires conquered, but by the future he forged, one that would culminate in the rise of Darth Sidious and the fall of the Jedi Order. Darth Zannah, the first true heir of the Rule of Two, was born with the name Rain, a child of war. Though once aligned with the Jedi, destiny intervened when she was touched by the dark side and taken under the wing of Darth Bane, who recognized in her the potential to carry forth his grand vision of a refined, secretive Sith Order. Unlike her brutal and physically imposing master, Zannah wielded a more insidious power. She mastered the arcane aspects of Sith sorcery, using illusions, fear, and manipulation to unravel the minds of her enemies before striking them down. In a galaxy ruled by might, Zannah proved that intellect and cunning could be just as lethal as a lightsaber. Over the years, Zannah studied the dark side, all the while knowing that to fulfill the Rule of Two, she would one day have to challenge and defeat her master. That moment came after years of service, when she finally stood against Bane in a battle to determine the future of the Sith. Their duel was brutal and devastating, but Zannah emerged victorious, cementing her place as Dark Lord of the Sith and proving the rule's harsh necessity. She ensured the Rule of Two was not a fleeting idea, and in silence, she shaped the Sith into a force that would one day topple the Republic itself. Darth Tenebrous represented the Sith's perfect blend of intellect, strategy, and ambition. Known in his public life as Rugus Gnome, a brilliant Bith hyperphysics engineer, Tenebrous lived two lives, one as a respected innovator in starship design, the other as a Dark Lord crafting the future of Sith dominance. Unlike many of his predecessors who relied on brute force or arcane mysticism, Tenebrous believed in calculated control and the power of foresight. Every decision he made and every manipulation he orchestrated was done with mathematical precision and confidence in his vision. He was the master of Darth Plagueis and saw in his apprentice not just a successor, but a tool to further a larger design. Tenebrous' Sith philosophy was shaped by science as much as by the dark side, as he believed that mastery of life, time, and even death could be achieved through logic, experimentation, and control of midichlorians. He viewed the Force not as a spiritual current to surrender to, but as a system to exploit. To Tenebrous, the Sith were destined not to simply destroy the Jedi, but to replace them entirely through the perfection of Sith intellect and will. Yet, for all his foresight, Tenebrous miscalculated one crucial element: his own apprentice's ambition. In a brutal and inevitable conclusion to their dark relationship, Darth Plagueis killed Tenebrous, fulfilling the rule of two he had once endorsed. But death did not immediately end his influence. In a rare and disturbing anomaly, Tenebrous' consciousness lingered, witnessing events beyond his physical demise, trapped by the very forces he sought to master. Darth Plagueis, known as the Wise, was no ordinary Dark Lord driven by conquest or chaos. Instead, Plagueis pursued mastery over the very essence of existence, life, and death itself. As the apprentice of Darth Tenebrous, he inherited the same goals Tenebrous had. Unlike the warlords of old, Plagueis remained largely in the shadows, avoiding open conflict, while building influence in the political and financial sectors of the galaxy. His belief was firm: the Sith would not rise again through armies or brute force, but through patience, intellect, and absolute control of the Force. He conducted dark experiments to prolong life, resist death, and even create life itself, all without drawing the attention of the Jedi. It is whispered that he came dangerously close to unraveling the very code of immortality. Plagueis trained a single apprentice, Darth Sidious, grooming him not just as a successor, but as a co-architect of a new Sith order. He believed their rule would last 1,000 years, subtle and unbreakable, but in teaching Sidious all he knew, Plagueis overlooked the one rule etched into the Sith tradition: the apprentice must eventually kill the master. In his moment of triumph, when he believed total power was within reach, Plagueis was betrayed, killed in his sleep by Sidious, who would go on to become Emperor Palpatine. Khmer, who was secretly the Sith known as the Stranger, appeared to many to be a charming but shady smuggler, but it is eventually revealed that he is a powerful and dangerous dark side Force user who operates in secret during a time where the Jedi believe the Sith are extinct. The Stranger was once trained as a Jedi but was either cast out or left the Order due to disillusionment with their rigid doctrines. Embracing the dark side, he adopted a nihilistic worldview, seeing the Jedi not as protectors of peace, but as oppressors of emotion and individual freedom. He operates under the philosophy that the Jedi suppress natural instincts, such as anger, passion, and desire, which he believes are essential to true strength. He eventually becomes a mentor figure to Osha and others, subtly tempting them with dark side ideals. The Stranger's actions contribute to early cracks in Jedi dominance and foreshadow the Sith's eventual rise. He represents the seductive, philosophical side of the dark side, offering choice and power rather than tyranny, making him one of the most complex dark side users we see in Star Wars canon. Darth Sidious, born as Sheev Palpatine on Naboo, concealed his dark identity behind the mask of a senator, using charm and cunning to climb the political ladder. But beneath that diplomatic facade burned the ambition of a Sith Lord determined to reshape the galaxy. Sidious was not merely a student of the dark side, he was its master, wielding deception as skillfully as any lightsaber. Trained by Darth Plagueis, Sidious absorbed the secrets of immortality, manipulation, and raw Force power. Unlike his predecessors, he understood that brute strength alone could never defeat the Jedi. Instead, he opted for subtlety, turning the Republic's own systems against itself. Through engineered conflicts like the Clone Wars, and with the creation of a double life as Chancellor and Sith, he played both sides until the galaxy begged for his control. His infamous Order 66 decimated the Jedi, executing thousands in a single stroke and ending an era of peace. As Emperor, Sidious established the Galactic Empire, an authoritarian regime built on fear, propaganda, and absolute obedience. His dark side abilities far surpassed most Sith before him, including mastery over Force lightning, mental domination, and unnatural preservation of life. Even death could not fully claim him, as he returned through forbidden cloning technologies, attempting to forge his will upon a new generation. Darth Sidious was a master architect of darkness, whose shadow still lingers in the Force long after his defeat. Count Dooku was a Sith Lord unlike any other. Born into nobility on the planet Sereno, he was trained in the ways of the Jedi, and eventually became one of the Order's most respected masters. Yet, even in his earliest years, Dooku questioned the beliefs of the Jedi and the corruption festering within the Republic they served. His disillusionment grew until he ultimately turned away from the Jedi, vanishing from the Order and resurfacing as the leader of the Separatist movement. But behind this political shift was a deeper, darker truth. Dooku had become the apprentice of Darth Sidious, assuming the Sith mantle of Darth Tyrannus. Unlike many Sith, Dooku did not fall to passion or chaos. His turn was calculated. He saw the Sith not as a cult of destruction, but as a necessary force to bring order to a galaxy crumbling under incompetence and greed. A master duelist, Dooku wielded his curved lightsaber with precision, embodying the grace of Makashi form. He was one of the few to defeat both Jedi and Sith in combat, and his strength in the Force was rivaled only by his intellect and commanding presence. Dooku's role in galactic history is complex. As the face of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, he led the galaxy into the Clone Wars, all while unknowingly playing into the grand design of his master, who intended to discard him when no longer useful. His eventual betrayal and death at the hands of Anakin Skywalker resulted in a key turning point in Sidious's plan, paving the way for the rise of the Empire. Maul was discovered as a child by Darth Sidious and trained in secret as a Sith assassin. He was raised not with compassion, but through torment and cruelty. Every movement and every breath was a lesson in survival. Unlike the subtlety favored by many Sith, Maul was a weapon designed to strike terror into the hearts of Jedi. He wielded a double-bladed lightsaber and confronted Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi. Though he succeeded in killing Qui-Gon, Maul's overconfidence led to his apparent death at the hands of Kenobi, cut in half and cast into darkness. Yet the will to live, fueled by his hatred, kept him alive. Through years of agony and madness, Maul endured, constructing mechanical legs and a new identity. No longer a Sith apprentice, he emerged as a rogue force of vengeance, building criminal empires and manipulating events from the shadows. From ruling Mandalore to challenging Darth Sidious himself, Maul carved out a legacy driven not by a desire for power alone, but by a singular obsession, revenge. Yet for all his strength and cunning, Maul remained a tragic figure, forever chasing enemies, haunted by the past, and never truly in control of his destiny. His final moments came not in conquest, but in quiet reflection, as he died in the arms of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the man who had once defeated him and who, in the end, understood him. Maul's story is not just one of fury and war, but of a soul shaped by loss, consumed by hatred, and ultimately seeking meaning in a galaxy that had offered him none. Darth Vader, born as Anakin Skywalker, was a gifted slave child on the desert world of Tatooine, with his rise being prophesied to bring balance to the Force. Discovered by Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and trained under Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin's potential was unmatched. A fearless pilot, a brilliant warrior, and a man with a powerful connection to the Force, he was seen by many as the chosen one. Yet beneath his heroism burned a storm of fear, anger, and a desperate need to protect those he loved. As the Clone Wars went on, Anakin rose through the ranks of the Jedi, winning battles and respect, but also sowing the seeds of doubt within himself. Haunted by visions of loss and death, he grew increasingly disillusioned with the Jedi Code and the hypocrisy he perceived in the Republic. It was this vulnerability that Darth Sidious exploited, twisting Anakin's desire to save Padme into a path of ruin. Seduced by promises of power, he fell to the dark side and was reborn as Darth Vader. Vader became a symbol of fear and tyranny across the galaxy. As the Emperor's enforcer, he hunted Jedi, crushed rebellion, and enforced imperial rule without mercy. Yet behind the mask, the remnants of Anakin still flickered. His loyalty to Sidious was absolute in appearance, but inner conflict remained. This silent battle within him would not end until he faced his son, Luke Skywalker. It was through Luke's faith that Anakin resurfaced. In a final act of redemption, Vader turned on the Emperor, sacrificing himself to destroy the Sith and fulfill the prophecy he once seemed destined to break. Though not truly a Sith, Kylo Ren was born Ben Solo, the son of Princess Leia Organa and Han Solo, and the grandson of Darth Vader. With the Force flowing powerfully through his bloodline, Ben's destiny was never going to be ordinary. Trained by his uncle Luke Skywalker, in the hopes of becoming a new generation of Jedi, Ben's path instead spiraled into darkness. Haunted by visions, torn between light and shadow, and seduced by whispers of power, he ultimately betrayed his fellow students and destroyed Luke's Jedi Temple, vanishing and re-emerging as Kylo Ren. Kylo aligned himself with the mysterious Supreme Leader Snoke and became the enforcer of the First Order. Unlike the cold, controlled Sith before him, Kylo was very emotional. His power was raw and his lightsaber unstable, mirroring his internal conflict. Yet behind the rage and theatrics, he remained a contradicting figure, a warrior longing to be free from his pain, even if it meant burying his past in blood. Kylo's obsession with Darth Vader consumed him. He sought to finish what Vader started, even if it meant destroying family, legacy, and hope. One of his most cruel acts was the killing of his own father, Han Solo, in a desperate attempt to sever his connection to the light. Yet even that act failed to fully extinguish the good within him. Throughout his arc, Kylo was defined by torment, and in the end, it was love, not power, that broke his chains. Through Rey's compassion and their forced bond, Ben Solo was resurrected one last time, sacrificing himself to save her. He died not as Kylo Ren the Destroyer, but as Ben the Redeemed. His legacy, much like his grandfather's, remains a testament to the struggle between darkness and light. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the Sith Lords I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2 or more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.